Hey guys, and welcome to art. Today we are going to be starting a printmaking process where we're creating a stamp that is going to be an inspirational quote. So think about things that encourage you, positive notes or sayings that people do to cheer you up. So I chose Dream Big, and we're going to be doing the same printmaking process we've done before. We're using a foam plate. We're drawing or etching into the plate, and we're inking and stamping it on paper. We're going to be doing a two-layer stamp where we create one layer, then we're going to take some of the stamp away and print again a second color on another layer, so it creates multiple colors and layers for our design. Today we are going to focus on creating the actual plate, the printing plate that we're going to use to do this stamp. And that's going to be the foam printing plate. So we've seen these before when we've done our Polynesian art, where we just draw with a pen into the foam. It makes an indentation, and that's what we're going to be doing today. But I want to point out to you that when you print and when a stamp has words on it, the words are backwards. That's so when you flip the stamp over to print, the words are going the correct direction and are the correct orientation. So today we're going to do a little trick so that we don't have to write backwards, but we're going to be able to have our stamp read our words backwards, so when we flip it over to print it, it's going to be the correct orientation. So to do that, we're actually going to come up with our design on a regular sheet of paper with marker. So here's an example of that, and then here's an example of me writing it backwards on the plate. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to start with a regular piece of printer paper that I've cut down to match the size of your stamp, and you're going to, with a dark marker, you're going to create your design. So my design is going to be smile. So I'm going to turn my paper this way. Since I'm doing one word, I can make it really big. And the idea is to make the letters bold and big, easy to read, and most importantly, easy to carve. So I'm going to start with smile, S-M-I. Notice that I'm spacing out my letters really evenly. I'm not putting them really close together, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to be bolding these letters. I want to make them thick and bold, like if you were to use the bold icon in Word when you're typing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the words that I already wrote, but I'm going to make like another layer of them. So right next to it, using the side of my marker, the flat side of your marker helps make a thick line, and I'm just going to go around the letter that I already wrote, but make a thick version of it. And if you wanted to, you could go back around the other side. But you want a really thick, bold block or bubble letter to work with when we're making our stamp. So I'm going to go this direction. I'm going to overlap this M, overlap on top and down the side. And it's okay if you've got space in between, because I'm just going to go through it and fill it in, and that helps me make my letters more bold. I'm going to go this direction because I have more space. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm not just drawing over the same place over and over again. What I'm doing is creating more space. So next to the line, I'm drawing another line to make it thick. I need to do my eye. I'll make it a box. Okay, the same for the E. I'm going next to the line, and I'm drawing the same thing so it makes it wide all the way around. Go in, you can go back and add to places, change it. And I think I'm going to add something down here. Just a little design. You could add lines or shapes. But I'm just going to add that little curly line right there, just to give it some character. Alright, everything's bold and thick, easy to read, everything's spaced out nicely. And now I'm ready to get my printing plate. So you'll come to the front and you're going to get the foam printing plate and a pen. Now the first step is going to be to make this backwards. So all I need to do to make this backwards is flip it over. And because I used a dark marker, I can see through the back of my paper. And I'm going to line it up with my printing plate. They're close. I had to cut them, so they're not exact, but they're close. And I'm going to hold it in place as I trace around my letters. Now, I'm not just going to trace one line, okay? I want to trace around the outside. And I'm not pushing down really hard. I'm pushing down and I can hear the foam crackle a little bit, but it doesn't have to be a lot because this is just the first step in a lot of traces. And then I'm going to go around the inside. So I was able to create a block letter by going around the outside and back inside around the marker that I made. And that's why we made it bold, because we wanted to give ourselves really thick lines for when we're going to be drawing into the foam. Think about using a phrase that has just a few words in it, 2 or 3, something that you can write really big so it'll be easy to read and it won't be too much etching into the foam. So letters that have bubbles, you need to make sure you go inside the letter and outside the letter. That's what helps you make a block letter, is when all of that space is around it. And my little design down here. And notice how I'm moving my right hand, that's the hand I'm not writing with, around the paper, just to make sure it's staying in place and not moving. Because if it's sliding around and I don't see it, it's going to mess up my design on the print. Okay, so what I've done is I've drawn the lines around the back of my practice paper, and since I'm writing on top of the foam, it's soft, so it's going to indent a little bit. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Oh yeah, you can see that. Okay, so all it did was just gave me a little engraving line, so I know where to write. Now I can write backwards because I have an example already in place. So now is the important part. Now is the time that I'm going to engrave into the foam, and when I do that, I'm using the pen and I'm pushing into the foam. And I want to make sure that I'm pushing really hard. A lot of times you guys are scared and you just write really lightly over it, and you can still see the pen line, but it's really important that you push down so that you feel the pen almost touching the table. You start to feel it flatten out. And it's even okay to go back and forth. If you're not sure you did it deep enough, you can go back and forth, and if your pen glides through without any problems, then you've done your job. So I'm going to do that all the way around all of my letters. So tracing the first time just gave me an outline. Now I've actually got to do the engraving. So I've got to go around with my pen, and you can even go around lightly with your pen once, and then go back once it's made a little indentation, go back and make a stronger indentation. And it starts to become easier the more you do it. So if your pen glides through your letter nicely, that means you've hit all the spots and it's laying down flat. So like I said, you can go over it lightly the first time just to give you a little help, and then you can go back over it and push down and make sure you're getting all the way down to the bottom. And I'm going to do this for my entire plate. It's really important today that you write your name on the back of this foam, but I don't want you to write it in pen. If you write it in pen, it's going to give you indentions on the other side, and it's going to mess with your printing. So when you're completely finished, or when it's time to go, what you're going to do is I'd like for you to write your name and class code. See how it can go through on the back. So I don't want you to do pen with your name. I just want you to do your name and class code in marker. so that it's not going to mess up your printing plate, and we'll have it for next week. Alright my friends, so you are creating a design in marker first. You're going to flip that design over and copy it onto your foam with a pen. Then after that, you're tracing the design with your pen to get a strong indentation into your foam so that you are ready to print when we get back next week. Guys, I hope you have a great time. I can't wait to see your inspirational designs, and I will see you next week.